Hi, my name is John Weber, and the book that I chose to talk about today is Sometimes They Come Back by Stephen King. So, the genre of this book is actually horror. It was written in 1974, but it wasn't published until 1978. So, a brief summary of the book is Jim Norman, who's the main character, was one day coming back from the store with his brother Wayne. And when they were coming back, this local gang of kids jumped him and his brother. And his brother tried to fight him off, and when he did, he was saying, "Run, Jim, run! Get out of here! Go!" And so Jim started running off. But then what Jim didn't know is they actually killed his brother. And after this, Jim was haunted many years into his adulthood, and Jim decided to become a teacher. And he had multiple teaching jobs, and eventually he became a teacher at this high school. And when one student died, the students kept getting replaced by the ghosts of the kids that killed his brother, because they recently died. After they killed his brother, they died in a car accident. And after they died in a car accident, they were trying to come back and kill him because he was unfinished business. So because he was loose ends, they had to come back and they had to kill him. And so when one student died in real life, one by one, their ghosts would come back, which eventually almost the whole group of kids came back except for one of them that actually lived, or split man from the group, as one of the characters would say. And after this happened, Jim, the main character, said, we're going to finish this. And he said, meet me at my office at 3 o'clock. And so at 3 in the morning, he decides the only way that he can get rid of him is this demonic ritual. So he does this demonic ritual, and he has to cut off his fingers. He has to cut off his fingers. He has to get the blood of an alley cat, or blood of a sacrifice at least. And in this case, it was an alley cat. And then he has to bring stuff that would basically symbolize his brother. Like, he brought a baseball cap. He brought a picture of him and his brother. So eventually, when the boys came, there was a voice that was talking to Jim. And he's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it now that you have pleased me, now that you've brought all of these things to me. And when all these boys came back, what happened is this, the whole situation was remastered, except when the situation was remastered, this demonic thing that came out of the ground that looked like Wayne, and they tried stabbing Wayne again. But then instead, when they stabbed him, they just burned up and disappeared. So the purpose of the book was to entertain and create suspense in the reader, and really just make this fear kind of into the reader. So the intent of the book was to startle people, because there was the death of a brother, which was Wayne, and then the death of his wife, Sally, who actually died in the car crash. And then, so the general writing strategy that he made was he was trying to really just grab your attention. So the page that I want to read to you is actually page 240. So in page 240, it says, he opened the morning paper, sipping his coffee, and saw the headline about halfway down. God, he said, splitting his wife's ease flow of the morning chatter. His belly felt suddenly filled with splinters. Teenage girl falls to her death. Catherine Slavin, a 17-year-old junior at Harold Davis High. Either fell or was pushed from the roof of her downtown apartment house early yesterday evening. The girl who kept a pigeon coop on the roof had gone up with a sack of feed, according to her mother. Police said an unidentified woman in a neighboring development had seen 3 young boys running across the roof at 6:45 p.m., just minutes after the girl's body. Continued page 3. Jim, was she one of yours? But he could only look at her mutely. So really, that's just trying to grab your attention. The other paragraph that I want to read is from page 253, and I say this because the timing is difficult. So what I mean by that is it actually kind of jumps around from different time periods, from, a little bit ago to a long time ago to then eventually like today's age, so like the now in the story. So what I mean by this is those ghosts were actually killed back in the 1950s, because they keep using 1950s language. Like, for example, one of the characters keeps saying dad or split man, and Jim kept saying, dude, no, like, nobody talks like that anymore. That's not cool. Nobody says that. Jim actually did say it says dead as Buddy Holly. So you have to kind of set this timeline in your head, because one moment you'll be going through Jim's day, and then the next moment he'll have a flashback back to like when his brother died, and he'll just keep remembering slight little details. And so I'm going to read this passage from page 253 to you. Vinny looked at the door, then back at Jim. He smiled. He said, I was wondering if you'd ever get down to it. Really, Jim said. Scared you the other night in the phone booth, right? Scared you the other night in the phone booth, right, Dad? No one says Dad anymore, Vinny. It's not cool. Like, cool's not cool. It says Dad is Buddy Holly. I talk the way I want, Vinny said. Where's the other one? The guy with the funny red hair. Split man. But under his studied unconcern, Jim sensed a weariness. He's alive, isn't he? That's why he's not here. He's alive and he's 32 or 3. The way you would be if... Bleach was always a drag. He's nothing. Vinny sat up behind his desk and put his hands down, flat on the old graffiti. His eyes glittered. Man, I remember you at the lineup. You looked ready to piss your little old corduroy pants. So then, from there, it was in the present, so Jim was talking to Vin. So it was in the present, Jim was talking to Vinny. And when Jim was talking to Vinny, it goes from, okay, here we are now, today, how I need to cover up split ends, to then the flashback of when Vinny saw Jim looking at the lineup. And like he said, it looked like you were ready to piss your little old corduroy pants. So the timing in that passage is difficult to understand. So, the next question is, would I recommend reading this? I would personally recommend reading this if you like Stephen King. I think it's an excellent short story. Except the things that I would like to say is, only read this if you really kind of like a puzzle. You kind of got to piece the timeline in your own head. So you're just going to have to imagine, like, okay, this happened then, and then, this happened back then. So that's one of the things. You're kind of going to have to get used to the language, because some of these guys are talking like it's 1950s, because, Vinny kept saying dad or split man and stuff like that. But Jim, he's talking like it's current day, which is 1974 in the book. So you're just going to have to get used to kind of changing back and forth between these two different types of dialogue. So thank you for listening to my book talk.